progressive cash drawings, mystery point multipliers, mystery gift days, extra cash for 4 of a kinds, bingo, bowling, football, and food specials. Looking for constant action? Look no further. Prompt Nugget.
Just before 1 o'clock, 2 Nye County Sheriff's deputies observed a fire condition. And what they did is they investigated what they observed. They found what appeared to be a single-wide structure that was well involved. Weather conditions were such that with the wind, the low relative humidity, and the relatively still high temperatures promulgated that fire in a very short fashion to extend to nearby properties, including going over several roadways onto adjacent properties heading further north. Thick brush, overabundance of material in some of the properties, but we had sustained winds of approximately 10 to 15 miles an hour, and then we had gusts up to 25 to 30. So those winds weren't even heading in a consistent direction. They were shifting winds, so at one point they were heading due north, then they shifted to the west.
There had to be an evacuation of the homes in the surrounding area.
We did precautionary evacuations with the assistance of the sheriff's office, and it was more of a precautionary measure. But I will tell you, there was at times that the fire was heading so fast with such ferocity that those evacuations were absolutely necessary. In this particular case, though, those that were evacuated were returned to their homes approximately 2 hours later.
How many homes or structures did we have burned?
Our preliminary count is 3 structures being homes, at least 1 shed, a Class 1 motorhome, and several utility poles.
And how much acreage do you think burned last night?
It's estimated about 15 acres were burned last evening. Now, out of those structures we just mentioned, only 1 was an actual occupied structure, but the owner was out of town, so it was idle at the time of the fire.
Did all the occupants of the homes leave readily when they were asked to leave there?
No, some of the citizens decided that they didn't want to evacuate, so it wasn't a mandatory at that point. However, we had the provisions in place that if necessary, they were going to become mandatory.
It appears that the area that the fire started from was difficult to get to.
There was an overabundance of materials such as the salt cedars and the mesquites and the property it contained on. So as that was heading away from that direction following the wind, we had forecasted which way the fire was going to be heading, made those necessary precautions on the evacuations, and placed our resources along the path to quick effect an outcome such as we had, which we had the fire contained approximately an hour and a half after we arrived.
The flames were very high, but we also had a lot of hot embers.
A lot of embers. We established an ember patrol, which was well in advance of the fire, so we can try to maintain an idea where that fire was going to possibly be going further. And the flame lengths, we are approximately between 50 to 70 feet in length.
Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue fought the fire. You called in a little bit of extra backup. We
did. We exercised our mutual aid agreement for some additional manpower and for some water shuttling. BLM also arrived, so the county came in with a couple of resources, as well as BLM also brought 2 engines over for manpower.
You've called in the State Fire Marshal.
Yes, the State Fire Marshal has been requested. They will be arriving tomorrow morning. We're keeping an eye on specific sections. As we know, there's at least what we consider 2.5 to almost 3 city blocks that were involved in the fire last evening. So we're covering that area. We're making sure, because again, we have sustained winds today. Winds are supposed to gust up again this evening, and we're supposed to have these conditions now through the weekend. So we're going to have crews mopping up, continue to monitor, and also doing ember patrols.
Advice that you might be able to give the citizens out there regarding brush, cleaning up, avoiding situations like this?
Yeah, just be diligent on making sure that there's no open flame in these areas around your property. Make sure that, again, even materials such as grinding and activities such as that, where there's any kind of material that could ignite the nearby brush. It's a highly volatile time, the fuel load is abundant, and the conditions are right for some serious fires.
This fire is considered suspect at this point?
We are considering a suspect, and until proven otherwise, and that's the reason for the State Fire Marshal coming in.